I'm gonna get stage fright because I've never had to do anything like this before.
It's easy. You just talk.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the long-awaited return to the Forecast. It's been about a year since our last episode, but as always I am one half of the hosts, King Damo, joined by my good friend Sammy Drip Drip, and this time we have a special guest, third host.
Wait, do you have a nickname?
I don't. Doesn't have a nickname.
We should have got a nickname for him before we came.
There wasn't a third with
Maurice. That's it. Anyway, moving on.
actual third host, Aiden. Oh, different Aiden to one that was previously in the background of an episode.
Yeah, an improved Aiden.
New and improved.
New and improved Aiden.
Hello everybody.
Yeah. Oh, we've got SmackDown on in the background, and I think I must have fell asleep during this. So is that Natalia?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, she's
wrestling.
with Maxine Dupree.
Random.
It's because she's been training Maxine Dupree in the background for the last few weeks, mate.
It's the classic WWE. We need to have a load of tag teams, so we're going to pair random people up.
Well, at least they got matching gear,
Yeah,
which is an
nice
improvement on a lot of.
It's
a lot of
good.
tag
It's
teams.
good gear for Maxine Dupree as well, to be fair.
Yeah, Natalia is terrible.
Well chosen gear.
Anyway,
so
let's move on to the episode. We're back up here and we're getting distracted already.
it has been
Oh, professional.
been a long time, but we've seen quite an uptick in WWE. We was just coming off the back of a very strong WrestleMania build last year, and that amazing finish with about 9 million run-ins and Cody finally finishing the story. And that was also your sort of reintroduction to wrestling, wasn't it, Aiden?
Yes.
Yeah. You watched it before but got back recently, so I thought we'd start by going over the last year as a new watcher. So what have your thoughts been on WWE now compared to like back in the day when you would have watched it as a teenager?
I don't know how to respond to that. It's very different. As an adult, obviously you understand the reason why things are happening. You also pick up on a lot of the little things that as a kid you don't, like when somebody goes off the top turnbuckle and the person on the mat is shimmying into the right position. So they actually, I never noticed that as a kid, even though it definitely happened. I didn't really understand heels and faces. I just cheered for who I cheered for because I liked the person, rather than realising they were the bad guy or the good guy or whatever it was going to be. And it's
very different when you start noticing those little bits. The other one is when someone's jumping to the outside of the ring and you see everyone like
Bracing.
crap.
Ready.
so I'm brawling, but they're clearly not looking up. I'm like everyone get into a position in a big group so someone can jump on them.
Yeah.
You don't notice that as a kid, but you notice it a little bit more as an adult.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you've picked a good time to get back into it. That's like absolutely sure. Because
Yeah.
I mean, if you were to get into it about 10 years ago, it was probably at its worst.
There were some high points during the mid to late teens, but it was
Awful.
I think that those moments look so much better because of how just rubbish it was generally, that when you got a good moment, it did feel extra good. Things like the heist of the century with Seth Rollins.
Yeah,
It's obviously
there's little
great.
nuggets in there.
Iconic moment, but it's only iconic because everyone hated that main event so much in the first place that they had to pull out Wrestlemania to save it. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're in the run-up to WrestleMania. I suppose we should talk about WrestleMania a little bit.
yeah.
How do you want to start? Matches? The build? Thoughts on the build in general?
Yeah, I don't think it's been as strong necessarily as last year overall. Definitely felt a little bit more hyped for 40, but
I think a big part of that was we had The Rock last year, like pretty much every single week, turning up and beating up Cody, busting him open, doing crazy promos, which we've not had this year. But one thing we have had is a heel turn for John Cena, which we never thought would happen,
no.
which was pretty mad in itself, and The Rock was involved in that.
Yeah.
We've got The Rock looming over this main event. We don't know what's going to happen, and maybe when we go into it, we'll
Yeah.
explain that a little bit more.
Been a lot in the last couple of years of things we never thought would happen in WWE. We had CM Punk return last year. the year before, I think technically that was.
Yeah.
And now a heel Cena turn. Those are two things that was, it's never going to happen, and now they've both happened, which is...
I think you're missing the biggest one as well, and that's Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble, which is probably the best thing that's happened in wrestling for the last 50 years.
Yes, maybe not if you ask Damien.
I'm not sure that was on a it's never going to happen list, but
Damien,
I think it probably was never going to be. To be fair,
never going to happen list. That's the biggest surprise.
Maybe.
It probably is.
I think heel Cena is the biggest surprise.
Cena's been a heel before. Jay's never won the Royal Rumble before.
I think you make an argument. You do make an argument there, to be fair. Like, if you think of Jey Uso up until 6 months ago, or whenever he started eating.
Even 6 days ago, I didn't think he was worthy.
6 minutes ago.
I'm getting turned back into to enjoying Jey Uso, but
yeah, I mean, as we're speaking about Jey Uso, shall we start on the World Heavyweight title?
Yes, feels like a good
probably the match Aiden's looking forward to the most.
Definitely, it should be the main event of night one.
I tend to agree with you on that, actually.
Unfairly called.
Yeah,
I would be more inclined to agree now than 2 weeks ago when it actually was confirmed to not be.
Yeah,
I think the last 2 weeks, as Jey has kind of dipped into that more serious character, has definitely helped make it a big.
Yeah, it's ever since Gunther butchered Jimmy, basically.
Yeah,
it's got like serious.
I was watching SmackDown earlier, and it went on to the next episode. It was just a random episode, as Netflix will do now, and it just started with Jey Uso coming out to the crowd. I was like, wait, have I gone back in time? This isn't the main event of SmackDown, is it? Like,
no.
After the last couple of weeks, I would feel that's so out of place, but it was in February or something. But
yeah, well, we've obviously got Gunther, who's been on a year-long title run. He won it at Mania last year, didn't he?
No, he won it after Mania, because Drew won it at Mania last year, beating Seth.
Oh, and then Priest won it.
Yeah.
It was SummerSlam.
Was that night 2?
I think it might have been night 2.
Okay, that's right then, because I didn't watch night 2.
Yeah, you're right.
So I missed her.
So it would have been, I think it might have been
SummerSlam.
But it's been a pretty long title run, as we've come accustomed to in WWE under Triple H, and perhaps one of your pet peeves. If I'm being honest, perhaps slightly underwhelming title run.
Compared to his 2 previous big runs as the UK champion and then as the Intercontinental champion, both were very dominant, and this run perhaps not so much. They had that whole him sort of being scared and unsure of himself.
It's a little bit weird.
Story, which is a bit weird, but
he's broke away from Imperium and now he's on his own.
I think that's happened with quite a few wrestlers though, hasn't it? 'Cause the same thing happened with Nakamura as well. It was poor booking, and that kind of thing didn't help either.
Nakamura was shocking, to be fair. But yeah, I don't really know. I couldn't really pick out a match, a defence that he's had, apart from the Jey stuff, which started at, what was it, Saturday Night's Main Event earlier this year?
Yeah, beginning of the year.
Essentially, where he lost.
And then last year, beginning of this year.
Yeah, because he lost, and then I think it was the next week he won the Rumble.
Yeah.
In my mind, I think it's leading towards Jey Uso winning.
Feels inevitable.
Yeah. Although I think there is a seed of doubt in there.
Well, especially after the Jimmy stuff, maybe, but it might be that too close. The only question is where do either of them then go if Jey loses? It's not like you can then build to something bigger afterwards. If this was the story going into that Saturday night main event, for him to then lose and then come back stronger, that would make sense.
Yeah, I feel like Jey is
Mania,
at his peak now.
Yeah.
Like, if you're ever going to capitalise on Jey now, it's going to have to be now. Like, after now, if he loses, he'll just...
And if he does win, he doesn't have a story anymore, but it's the World Heavyweight Championship, which means that everybody's going to want it, so it's easy to make stories around it off the back of that. They can just put him in heat with anybody then, basically.
Gunther's that good that if he loses, I don't think it damages him too much.
No,
he's that sort of character.
He could just come out the next night, cut a promo on anybody, and start a story with them.
Could be the WWE Championship, whoever wins that. Could be Intercontinental, United States. Could be anything.
Especially doesn't even need to be his hate for non-respect to the ring. It makes it easy to target anybody, really, doesn't it?
He could be in a program with a returning Rusev or
Yeah,
Malachi Black easily.
anything could work for him. It's not a case of it would crush him to lose.
Yeah.
But it could crush Jay.
Yeah,
at
for
this
sure.
point. Like you can't build him back up easily. This will be his second push for a world championship. Obviously, no one was ever expecting him to beat Roman, but this one, if they're going to do it, now is their only chance.
Yeah, I agree. And
strike when mine is hot,
that is the saying.
and he is.
And he could have some
It's
cool
on the roster.
title defenses afterwards as well. Like, I could easily see him against CM Punk, like for example.
Yeah.
Punk beating him, obviously, because he's the best in the world, and going on to being the galactic champion and winning every single belt.
Don't give WWE fighters more time.
Anyway, moving on from the World Heavyweight title match. What's the next one you want to speak about? Throw it out.
As we go for stories that have kind of changed as we've got closer, mate, let's go for the women's WWE title.
Is that Tiffany Stratton?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Tiffany Stratton, Charlotte. A match that I think it's one of those ones that seemed interesting at first and quickly dropped into people not really caring about it. And a week ago, a little bit of real life drama gets brought in, and now that match is quite an interesting prospect again.
Yeah.
They've saved it, but perhaps not in a way they should have.
It's all been a bit weird, hasn't it? Because like Charlotte Flair comes back, says she's going to win the Royal Rumble, and you think, usually when people say that, they don't win the Royal Rumble, and someone else comes back. But she comes back, wins it, and then you think, well, yeah, her and Tiffany are quite well paired. You could see a decent match between them. Has Charlotte even had a match since she's been back?
Yeah, she has. She
she
got somebody to submit, didn't she? And she refused to pull out the crab.
Yeah, B-Fab. She had a match with B-Fab, I remember that.
She hasn't faced anyone.
No one decent.
Figure 8
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
leg block.
But yeah, you could see her and Tiffany like pair up against each other quite well, but the build itself has been absolutely woeful.
Yeah.
It from both sides. It's the creative on it's just been
It's
shocking.
always been one of those things with Charlotte where, like, in the ring, she's really talented, and WWE have seen that and always love to try and push her. It helps, given her family heritage, but I think even without that, she would still have found success as a wrestler.
I think they did their usual, have brought her back. She's been away for a while, and they thought, oh, let's try and get her over as a face. And it just doesn't work. No one likes her for whatever reason. People just don't like her. Like, she's an unlikable
I don't
character.
like her. I don't know her.
No, well, yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I think you're right. Like with her history, obviously her history with her dad, with the person that is her dad, and everything that's behind her, she's just like a natural heel. You should have just brought her back as that. And then Tiffany as well. She was transitioning into a face. But is she a face? Is she a heel? Like, I'm still not sure.
Yeah.
It's all been a mess up until last week when real life situation got brought into it. Like you said, it's just been so uninteresting.
And it's been said a lot about Charlotte over the years of people have accused her of going into business for herself and things like that. There's stuff like the title swap with Becky and little bits like that where it's just felt sort of catty, like there's no real need for it, and it definitely sort of felt like that with the build with Tiffany, that there was times that Tiffany was trying to cut a promo on Charlotte and Charlotte's just grinning from ear to ear on the other side of the ring. It's like, well, you can do, but you're not helping Tiffany Stratton in this. And as she's rightly said across these promos, Tiffany's 25, she's quite young and quite new to the business. Like, as the veteran, you should be helping.
Yeah.
And it's always slightly disappointing when a big veteran doesn't do that. Like, we've had problems with John Cena doing it in the past, of just running people down and then he goes away again. And that I think it was Austin Theory gained absolutely nothing from being in the promo with him, because Cena shot him down and then left, and Austin Theory was nothing. And it looked like Charlotte was sort of doing the same sort of thing with Tiffany. Obviously leads to Tiffany calling calling a spot in the ring and bringing up Charlotte's third divorce. It was a bit of a low blow, but
fair play to her though. She just stuck up for herself. I don't have anything against her.
The world of wrestling
shows a bit of character.
You sort of gotta expect it, but
yeah, for sure. Fair play, absolutely. But I think we can sort of transition into the other women's match here, the women's title match, because there's been parallels with the build just being really messy, and they're probably the two worst built to matches in the whole run up to Mania, I'd say.
yeah.
And it's not a new problem with WWE that the women's matches always seem to be a bit of an afterthought and no clear vision for it. But let's go on to it then. So the women's world title match.
The first thing I think, talking about being messy, is who's the face and who's the heel in the women's triple threat?
I think the clear face is Io Sky.
Yeah.
She's the one that's come out best from it. Like,
Yeah.
she won the world title fair and square, and you've got these two dickheads that are just messing about, basically.
Yeah.
The one that's come off the worst, I'd say, is Rhea Ripley by a complete country mile. Bianca Belair's justified. She won the Elimination Chamber. She's got the shot for the match, and Rhea Ripley's the one that's come off the worst. It's a discussion me and you have had for a while, but there are people, certain stars in WWE that don't need to be in the world title picture, and it feels like they've just tried to get her on the card, basically.
Yeah, get Ripley on big names. Yeah, on the big names to lose out, and if they don't put her in that match, what match are they gonna put her in?
Yeah.
And ever since she's kind of lost the storyline with Liv, it just had no direction really.
Yeah. Well, the problem they had was beating Rhea initially. Anyway, there's a feature from a dog, even though we're recording somewhere else. But yeah, they beat Rhea for the world title anyway. And I thought, in my mind, Rhea against Bianca, that's the money match they've been building for years. The end of the Royal Rumble a few years ago, they had them two as the last two, and they're the two like big stars. But they beat Rhea for whatever reason to get Io on the card, which I don't have a problem with. But then they've just made it messy.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I would assume there was other plans at some point within the women's division that fell by the wayside, and they were just scrambling to try and get something with them all in. The tag match is another one that's similar because they've just thrown Bailey and Valkyria in that. Great to see them getting a spot, but it does feel a little bit of an afterthought. Let's throw them in. There was supposed to be a build to a Bailey Roxanne match, which never materialised.
Yeah.
The rumours of Becky Lynch returning, which again haven't materialised. Alexa Bliss returned, disappeared. Nikki Bella returned, disappeared. Like, there's loads of stuff that just...
Oh, I forgot Nikki Bella returned.
Yeah, there's loads of little threads that just...
Alexa Bliss has confirmed she's going to be in Vegas, though, hasn't she?
Yeah.
She's probably going to be in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, I bet, on SmackDown.
What do they call the women's one now? It used to be the Fabulous Moon,
Andre the Giant,
and then they realised that wasn't exactly a great
I don't know.
thing to more.
That's from her as well. That was in a video that she posted on X, I think. So, I mean, she was going to be in Vegas on the Friday.
Yeah, I don't know what she'll be doing. I can't see her getting involved in any of the main matches, if I'm honest.
They did fix the sort of problem they set up, though, with having Rhea just sign the contract, be like, I'm in the match. At least they didn't just leave it at that. They did sort of go, well, no, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
And then added a little bit more story. So that would have been a big...
It would have sucked.
A big pop. Going to be a great match, though. All three of them.
I'm looking forward to the match. It'll be great. I think for me, the winner has to be Bianca. Personally.
Would make a lot of sense, but I can see going...
I can see
anyway.
Rhea winning it.
Surely they don't give the belt back to Rhea.
I can see Rhea winning it. Yeah. I like Rhea as a wrestler. I think she's very talented. I like Io as well. But I feel like Io works better when she's in a tag or something like that. I think she looks better, but she's more suited to it. I really like Bianca Belair as a wrestler as well, but I can just see the WWE going in the direction of giving it back to Rhea. She is the crowd favourite.
Yeah. It's a tricky one to call.
Because of the disrespect for sort of Io throughout this, but like them pushing her away and it's kind of ignoring. They're trying to focus on just Rhea. I do think Io is going to win.
You do?
I think they're going to go with that. The other two are so focused on each other, they sort of.
I think the positive though is if one of the other two do win outside of Io, there's then going to be a lot of. It's going to set up that whole storyline for Bianca versus Rhea, which is what a lot of people want as well. They're very suited to each other for the style of wrestling, aren't they? So
yeah, absolutely.
And some people have got to defend their title at Mania. You can't have every match ending in a new champion.
That's true. That is true. Right, let's move on to a different match. Hit one, name someone, and we'll talk about it.
LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu.
Fatu wins. Job done.
I don't want Fatu to win.
5-minute squash. Happy days.
I want LA Knight to win so bad.
You don't like Fatu?
No, I'm not a fan. But I can see why Fatu would win.
Yeah.
I get it. And I think they may end up lining that up with a Fatu versus Solo thing in the future.
Yeah.
I see them kind of bringing it. And I think him having a belt makes that easier for them to do. But I love LA Knight, and I feel for LA Knight. I didn't like him initially. I knew Sammy loved him. I wasn't a fan, and as I've watched it, I've liked him more and more as I've seen his promo work and his mic work and stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like if he loses, it leaves him in no man's land more than it leaves Fatu in no man's land.
Yeah, I can see that. I just don't think the original plan was to have this match. Like what you were saying about Shinsuke earlier, his title run just didn't work at all. And I think they just play it back on LA. Yeah, they play it back on LA Knight because they were just like, oh, we don't know what to do with him. And it's on them, to be fair.
Yeah,
it's not really on Shinsuke. So I think Fatu wins. He's like, I could see him easily going on to the world title picture. He seems to have quite a bit of a push behind
It all depends who wins the world title.
Yeah. Well, if it's Jey Uso, you could see a program there.
I was more thinking of the other.
Right. Well, Cody,
Cena. I couldn't see Cena
against Fatu. Yeah.
I mean, he could have it. It's maybe not as one of the big main matches that we're expecting.
No, maybe not. But yeah, I can't. To be honest, what I'd do is just, like I say, a squash. Put Fatu over him quickly.
Yeah.
Happy days. Job done.
Tama Tonga making an appearance.
Maybe. Can you do a Tama Tonga impression? As close as we can. Anyway, let's quickly move on from that. Should we talk about the IC title match, the Fatal 4-Way? Bron Breakker, Penta, Finn Balor, and Dom.
Got to be some form of Judgment Day fallout in this match.
Of course. Yeah, this is where
I feel like this is the one match where we could also see Rey Fenix make an appearance. If he's gonna, I feel like he's taken, like Penta did when he first came in, he's taken it by storm, and it's a shame in a way that he's coming so late that it just makes it basically nigh impossible to bring him into WrestleMania plans.
Could be a winner of the Andre the Giant Battle Royal.
He could be. That's a decent shout, to be fair.
They've never done anything with a winner of that. So it's a completely pointless accolade, but
you go in the history books.
It is a way to showcase a little bit of a belief in a new build. Maybe this will be the year they actually do something with it. Like, who knows?
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. It's got to be the Judgment Day split. Well, not split, but Balor getting kicked out on his ass, I think.
Some ridiculous
Dom's been on about bringing in new members for ages, so surely like someone comes.
Yeah, there's one
of two things I can see happening. Either Rey Fenix appearing to help Penta at some point in it, or Dom screwing over Balor, or the other way round. Dom will have him pinned, and Balor will kick him out of it. Which is, it's tough, isn't it? Because realistically, only one of them can win, but they're both in the match, and they're still kind of winning for Judgment Day. I can see more it being Dom stopping Balor from winning, not the other way around, because of the way they're setting it up.
Yeah,
I think they've been setting it up like that for a while.
I think the title changes hand, but I don't. But Bron Breakker doesn't get pinned.
They will want him to be strong.
He's going to hit some mad spear on somebody, and it's just going to take him out of the match at the same time.
I'm waiting for him to go.
Huge spear on Penta, like through the barricade or something, and then you can have.
I'm waiting for him to spear somebody, but going through the ropes.
Out like a suicide
spear somebody to the, because he's one of the few people that you trust to do it. We saw him coming down.
Torpedo, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be
It'd
scary.
take someone's head off. Honestly. My God.
Oh, one of the deadliest looking finishes
That's
in
mad,
all of
isn't
it.
it?
For
That
it
spear
only
on
being,
Carlito was crazy.
only being realistically, yeah, I say it's only a spear. It is only a spear in comparison to how complex some finishes are nowadays. It's one of the most devastating, and that's because of how he does it.
Best spear
Ever.
currently in WWE.
Yeah.
Poor Edge.
I think the gore was maybe better, but
Well, Rhino.
it's
Rhino score.
it's got to be a.
I know his little arms,
50.
his little T-Rex arms.
I saw something where he was talking about nobody ever kicked out of the gore. If you ever saw someone kick out, he only hit a spear.
Fair. I think in this match, for me, you either have Penta win, and then the Judgment Day split happens in the aftermath, or you have Dom win.
I could see that.
Sorry, and the Judgment Day split happens on the
could
night,
see
or
that,
Dom
though.
wins. And, yeah.
I could see Balor pinning Breaker or going to pin him. I could then see Dom interfering and then Penta coming out of the side and taking them out quickly and then pinning for the win, which would then subsequently move the title but also cause a massive disrupt in
Got to
Judgment.
remember as well, Fatal 4-Way, no DQ, so
Yeah.
fully optionable for shenanigans.
Yeah.
If a member of the Judgment Day doesn't win, it's gonna be really pointless for them, because they could have as much interference as they wanted. They've all got allies. If they don't win,
Do you know who I feel for the most in this match? Probably Carlito.
yeah,
He's going to have gone from 2 weeks of taking a spear to probably taking a Mexican gut buster
Yeah.
from Ray Phoenix or something.
Yeah. You just get trounced.
Something's going to happen.
Any match you want to speak about next?
Should we go for one of the main events? We did night one main event.
Yeah, let's go for that.
Jey Uso versus Gunther.
No, it's the debut of the new big star, El Grande Americano, of course.
Okay, yeah.
Big coffee.
Yeah, that's the main
Coffee.
The big coffee.
the big cockpit. Yeah,
It's bad that Chad Gable is missing WrestleMania again, isn't it? Like,
it is pretty gutting, but
We still haven't confirmed as well who he went to speak to learn Luchador. Because they were teasing it as if it was going to be Ray Phoenix, and then nothing ever got mentioned. So
I
maybe
think
that's
going to be a
maybe
WWE
that's
thing.
the match where Ray Phoenix appears as the mentor. Who knows? You never know.
I think the implication he went to speak to El Grande Americano, which obviously doesn't make any sense. Because that's just it. He's found a
I
mirror.
love it
in
though.
Mexico.
I love it though.
I thought it was a brilliant
We get a showcase of Lucha Libre though, which is good to see.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
having a little bit of a reconnaissance, renaissance is what I wanted to say. In WWE at the minute, there's quite a few luchas,
Yeah,
and we're getting some great matches from them.
yeah.
Penta and Phoenix.
El Grande's probably top of that list for me.
Obviously, still got Rey Mysterio.
The natural successor to Rey Mysterio, personally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can argue that he hits a better suplex than the other lucha.
absolutely. He's got a good bridge on him, that guy.
Yeah.
El Grande for the win. But yeah, let's talk about the main event. So, the technical main event, but in our eyes, shouldn't necessarily be the main event.
Yeah.
But that does lead me to think that there's got to be something on that. Something has to happen at the end of that match.
Yeah.
It can't just be a standard triple threat and say Punk wins or Rollins
not
wins and that's
complete,
it.
is it?
Something's going to happen.
Obviously, there's the backstage politics of Punk wanting a main event. It's been sort of his WWE dream.
Yeah.
So whenever he's been in WWE, that is what he's wanted. And understandably, I imagine every wrestler dreams, at least in WWE, every wrestler dreams of main event in WrestleMania is the pinnacle.
Heyman being in his corner.
Yeah, being revealed as the favour he was asking for. Did think it was funny this week on SmackDown that they completely cut out the fact that Heyman had turned on CM Punk
Yeah,
in 2013.
I think that was funny as well.
If you watch that promo, it looked like they were best friends, and then Punk leaves WWE and doesn't speak to Heyman for ages. And
There's a whole match at SummerSlam where he was in Brock Lesnar's corner.
yeah, it already gone south way before, at least on TV. Their backstage friendship, something separate.
Yeah. I wonder, because last year's WrestleMania you had night 1 bleeding into night 2.
Yeah.
I have no idea how to do it, what match it would fold into. Presumably the main event with Cody and Cena, but how that happens I don't know. But somehow, because there's still favours floating around everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I'm
People on
not
about-
sure how Seth thinks favours work.
Yeah, I know. I have no idea what's going on.
Curb stomp him, he could have, and he chose not to.
I haven't curb stomped you, doesn't mean you owe me a favour.
It's true.
If I see you tying your shoelace, I can't just walk over.
Yeah.
I could have curb stomped you.
You owe that.
You owe me.
You're
I've
like
just
that.
got this seed of doubt, not seed, but this seed in my head. Rollins wins with the help of Heyman somehow, and then
Yeah.
they align. I'm not gonna lie, this is probably, it might be my least favourite match out of all of them. I respect them all individually within reason, but I actually don't find that much enjoyment watching Rollins or Punk wrestle, and I've seen Reigns like twice.
I think it's one of those matches that you sort of need to follow the
Yeah, I this is what I was trying to explain to Tyler.
But this is what makes me think there has to be something on it. There has to be a twist at the end of that. Something really big that happens for it to be the main event, because it's just a triple threat.
You mentioned at the start of the podcast, we have The Rock's shadow over WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that is where he makes another appearance? He was counting down last time we saw him. He held up 3 fingers at Royal Rumble. I can't remember what
It wasn't it?
yeah, 2 Elimination Chamber. He's counting down to something.
WrestleMania.
Does he get a new member of a faction?
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar.
I don't think we're seeing Brock.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't.
Especially that he has officially been named
Yeah.
in the ongoing lawsuit now.
Yeah, absolutely. I read the other day, I don't know if it's true, but he filed a trademark for some sort of team corporate or something like that.
Maybe WWE have been filing trademarks recently. Apparently, they only just trademarked SmackDown. How they haven't owned that since 1999, I don't know. That should have been one of the first things for all their food stands.
Yeah, I'd think, wouldn't you?
Didn't trademark that one.
Yeah. What other matches have we got to talk about? The Fridge Raiders against the New Day. New Day to win for me on that.
Hoping we see a Big E appearance.
Yeah,
I want War Raiders to win, but I think
Really?
I'm not. At the end of the day, it makes sense because New Day are natural heels, so I should want War Raiders to win.
Yeah.
I actually don't mind watching the War Raiders. I don't see what the massive issue is with them.
I think I'm just a bit bored of them. Like, they're a bit more.
as much.
Yeah, they're newer to you, but
Yeah,
like I said to you before, Fat Guy does a cartwheel. It's not that impressive to me.
it's pretty impressive.
I can't do it.
Oh yeah, I know.
I thought it does a
But if you did it as your job and you practiced every day to do a cartwheel, you probably could. But yeah,
It's a cliche in wrestling though, but big guy does something athletic. It puts people.
isn't it? Like, cartwheel.
I get you though.
His legs are bent over.
They are a bit stale, and I think the titles, like the tag team titles, should switch hands.
Yeah.
I just don't. I'm not a fan of the New Day. I don't
like
get it. I like Motor City Machine Guns, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think it's a shame.
See, the SmackDown tag division, I think, is in a lot better health than the Raw tag division. The Raw one is shocking.
The fact that the Raw one is made the Mania
Yeah.
card and the SmackDown one is just on the SmackDown WrestleMania special, whatever they call it now.
Yeah.
Does it suggest to me that there's something worthwhile in the New Day?
Yeah, it's got to be big.
Match? There's got to be something there because it doesn't feel like a pay-per-view match.
I was surprised for the
Let alone
SmackDown
at
one
WrestleMania.
that they didn't have like a multi-man ladder match like they
I'm sure
usually do.
they
love
they're
that
going to
ladder
have
match.
something.
Yeah, it is a shame, but
I think that's the thing. I think DIY and Street Profits, all of them are a lot more exciting to watch than New
Yeah.
Day and War Raiders.
yeah,
And I really hope that the best thing they could do in my eyes would be to bring Fraxim up from NXT and put them into Raw.
they're teasing splitting them though.
Yeah, especially with having Nathan Frazier come up separately.
Nathan Frazier. Yeah, anyway.
And then Axim as well.
So we mentioned earlier that WWE really don't like doing stories of the women without a world title. But they've actually managed to build a story without a world title really well. So we're kind of being a little bit of a hypocrite here.
I did see something the other day about it being the first a non-title match between two women in like 3 years or something.
Really?
So we're critical of them with good reason.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I feel a little bit better then. But this has been one that's been building since sort of September? It was just before War Games, wasn't it? November, I think that was.
Yeah.
November War Games.
Been a while, long-term booking.
Yeah. Well, we've eventually found out, shock horror, that it was Naomi that pushed Jade Cargill off of the loading bay onto a car.
Yeah, I think that's...
But why was a car parked outside the loading bay? Who knows?
For the loading.
Yeah.
When you look at it, the drop wasn't that high.
No, but it would hurt.
I mean, falling onto a car.
Yeah, I don't
do remember he's one of the worst.
Speak to Drew, he was back within 2 weeks.
Well,
He smoke slammed into a windscreen.
We still don't know what happened to Ricochet. As far as we know, he's still in a coma.
Yeah.
Speared on. Was he speared onto? Dropped? I can't remember what happened to him. But
the only guy that looks similar to him on AEW at the minute.
get well soon, Ricochet.
Yeah. Rick O'Shea on AEW. His Irish cousin.
Yeah. Months of build. We kept trying to guess which way they were going. It sort of felt inevitable it was going to be Naomi.
Yeah, I thought there might have been a swell and it'd be Bianca at one point.
I'm still not convinced there's nothing there. It doesn't feel like there is, but I won't be convinced.
I feel like
the story has moved on completely.
I feel like they've moved past the point of bringing Bianca back into it now. I feel like they've moved her on to something else.
I guess it depends on what happens in that world title match.
Yeah.
It's the thing. I feel like they've been teasing Bianca turning heel for a while. And if that
Even with her
happens-
outfit changes,
Yeah,
you can tell, so I can't.
yeah, her attitude's changed a little bit. But I'm actually quite looking forward to this match. I think it's been built really well,
Yeah.
which is a change for them.
I wish it was.
You're not.
I don't think Naomi's a good wrestler at all.
Yeah.
She's very slow paced. You can read everything she's about to do before she does it. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I agree to an extent with that. I think Jade Cargill's jury's out on her as well. Like, the best match I've seen with her was her first one on AEW, when she tagged with Shaquille O'Neal. That was really good.
Not what was expected.
That was a good match against Cody and Brandy. That was good.
Okay.
Because she was like just a monster, and then when she returned at Elimination Chamber, she looked like a monster.
Yeah. That is an interesting side of a mixed tag.
Yeah.
She didn't okay in that match. She's had one match, hasn't she?
Yeah.
One,
Since she's come back, she's looked good.
Okay.
But before that, you look at her and she's obviously such like a specimen. You think she's got to have a style where she just absolutely dominates, but her work never looks that impressive to me.
I think she was carried heavily by Bianca.
Yeah, I think she's at a stage now where she's got that aura behind her. She could potentially do it.
We'll find out in a week's time now for this recording. Is it night one or is it night two?
It's night one, less than a week.
Yeah, less than a week. We'll know.
Yeah, I think we've talked about all the main matches on night one. In fact, we've talked about all the matches on night one. Should we briefly talk about AJ Styles against Logan Paul?
Yeah, that's one of those weird ones that it would
Paul to win.
we thought for a little while that it wasn't going to happen because they kept mentioning it and then just not doing anything.
Yeah, I wondered if they were going to be putting the IC title match, and it'd be a fatal four-way before they put Finn and Dom in there. I thought it might be those two, Penta and Bron Breakker. But yeah, they've got a singles match. I mean, AJ Styles has had really good singles matches with people that are a lot worse than Logan Paul.
Yeah.
Shane McMahon comes to mind, and it was one of the matches of the night.
That one match he had with Brock was really good.
Yeah, so I just remembered Shane ripping his quads at WrestleMania. The best moment I think I've ever seen in my life. Have you seen that?
What, Shane McMahon?
Yeah.
What? No, I don't think so.
Oh, I've got to show you after this. It was just the timing of Michael Cole going, "Oh, Shane's still got it," and he does a leapfrog, rips his quad, and it's collapsed. Oh, that's so funny. I think that's better than Titus World Slide for me. It's so
Build up with J-Roll.
No, Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg's there. Snoop Dogg, The Miz. Yeah.
I've seen it, yeah.
Oh,
Snoop Dogg hits people's elbow, I think.
Yes.
yeah.
Just randomly, just like he was quick thinking on his feet to save that segment.
Snoop Dogg's a worker, that's why.
Everyone else is just kind of like, oh shit, Shane McMahon is issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have seen that.
Yeah. Anyway, talk between yourselves. I'm going to find it.
AJ Styles AJ Styles can have great matches with anyone, and Logan Paul has enough natural talent that if he's with someone that can carry a match, his matches are going to be, pun intended, phenomenal. So we're going to have a great match here.
AJ, has he had a match since he's come back? I'm not sure he has.
No, not.
He hasn't a thing. No, he's done promos, and he's had little spats in those promos, like he's flipped over and tried to land the elbow a couple of times.
Who's coming out in Prime Bottle to get Styles Clash through a table?
I don't know, let's just refresh ourselves with Shane McMahon, and while I have a think, maybe it's Shane McMahon.
Mate, Shane McMahon, Logan Paul.
Oh, this hasn't got the commentary.
I don't know enough about.
iShow Speed is they've already spoken about iShow Speed. Like they want him to do more stuff in the future.
Who was the guy in the Sidemen charity football match that took a super?
Oh, Joe Weller.
Joe Weller.
Oh god, no.
Is
he the one that pulls out the Uno cards?
No, that's Max something or other, the inventor guy.
I'm gonna guess
is the Uno reverse guy.
Joe Weller is gonna get Styles Clash.
The thing with Joe Weller does a lot of boxing and stuff, so he has the fitness level for it.
Would people know it?
And iShow Speed is
I couldn't tell you what he looks
a lot fitter than people realise. So
the other two have been people that I recognise. KSI.
KSI and iShow Speed guy.
Oh, it's Jake Paul.
KSI getting left in the ring to take an RKO is one of my favourite.
Yeah.
It was such a simple. It's just the acceptance in his face, like, yep, I know it's about to happen. But
what about Mr. Beast? Are they friends?
I mean, yeah, friends.
There you go. Could be
It's the whole YouTube.
Yeah.
I would.
Friends.
I would be surprised if there wasn't something added in, and that's the match to add.
It'll be an influencer thing based on
something minor. They love to throw in there. I hope it doesn't take too much away from the match, but as an addition in the middle, I think it could draw in a little bit of audience, especially in the clips afterwards. It'd be a little bit of a mistake.
I think if somebody,
the engagement match.
If somebody coming back to wrestling after a long time, and also somebody that used to watch Logan Paul before the whole Japan thing happened, but I used to watch his vlogs in the early days of Maverick and stuff, and they were just more comedy-based vlogs. That his brother was rarely in it, and he was fun to watch. It was fairly family-friendly,
Nickelodeon kids, weren't they?
Yeah, well, Jake was, yeah. But then, like, watching him wrestle now, there's no argument that he is one of the best wrestlers. Actual wrestling-wise, he is one.
He's one of the most athletic.
Yeah, but that's in my eyes, though. If I'm looking at a wrestler, that's what I enjoyed watching.
Yeah,
he's capable of doing
because in a lot
as good as anybody else.
He's eye-catching.
In a lot of people's eyes, Gunther is technically one of the best, if not the best wrestler on the platform.
It depends what you look for.
But I find Gunther quite boring to watch.
Yeah,
doesn't make him a bad wrestler. It just depends on what, like you said, what you're after. If you liked watching people like move around the ring really quick, hit like ridiculous leaping things, like you see Phoenix and you watch Mysterio do and that kind of thing, then
I would
always a good mix of both of them.
I would agree with you in the aspect of he can do anything that is asked of him in the ring, but the step beyond that into putting it all together is, I think, where he still lacks. Like there was that match he had on Raw or SmackDown a couple of weeks ago, and it just sort of fell flat because nobody was sort of taking control.
No, he's a pay-per-view wrestler, like the big show match wrestler, but he's not a week-by-week wrestler.
Got a cool finisher though.
Yeah,
What is that?
Cool. I don't know what he calls it. But,
the one where he flips it. Yeah, I was thinking
he holds them this way and then he spins and grabs them on the other side. There is a name for it.
Thinking the slingshot.
He did it to AJ Styles, and to be fair to AJ Styles helped him massively because he sold the hell out of it. But it looked really good.
If he has to take one, I just really hope that he remembers that you're not supposed to tuck your head on a Styles Clash. It's one of the only moves you duck
James Ellsworth.
And it's notorious for people forgetting, because I'm pretty sure the rule is you always tuck your head, set that neck. One of the moves, and you don't do that. So I really hope he doesn't forget, because I don't want to see him with spikes on his head.
Yeah, for sure. Right, we've got 2 brief things to talk about before the main event, which we'll spend a bit more time on. But one confirmed match I've got, Priest against McIntyre, which the build for actually I've really enjoyed. Like when it was touted earlier in the year, I thought, it's a bit sucky, but they built it quite well and tethered it into last year's Wrestlemania well.
I think Drew should have kept the iPad for a bit of that. I thought it gave him an interesting look for a little bit. Like he looked more intimidating.
Yeah.
I think Drew's good at selling anything, though, isn't he? I think he's very good on the mic.
Big angry Scottish man.
See, Damien knows how much of and the listeners, the many listeners know how much of a Drew McIntyre critic I am, or was, even when we were at Clash at the Castle, and everyone wanted him to win. Me and the drunk guy behind us were the only Roman Reigns fans there, pretty much. Just the only ones acknowledging him. But yeah, this version of McIntyre since before last year's Mania, wasn't it, where the spiral happened, really?
Yeah,
he was sort of turning into this
about 18 months.
Yeah, injustice type character. I think it's been really good.
I'm a big McIntyre.
I think this works for him. Like the baby face smiling, kissing babies. Drew McIntyre sucks. We don't ever want that back. I never.
Really entertaining on social media as well, which definitely helped.
Yeah.
All of the stuff that you see behind the scenes with him, he's having a good laugh. Is it the hot ones when he's like, eat a hot wing or say something nice about CM Punk, who's just like still continuing to.
Yeah, he does well to like tether his real life into it. Like when he went to Chicago, went to that bakery that CM Punk went to and stuff like that. I think the stories help Priest.
It's a street fight as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
which will make it, which I think plays into it, especially with his match against CM Punk probably being one of the most highest rated of.
It's one of
it's gonna be a good match.
Before, but it's one of those matches where I think they could do it. Like you have it as like the second match of the night, and you have them brawl outside, and then you carry on with the show, and then 3 or 4 matches later they come back in and you finish something like. It's one of those. I think they did it at the COVID Wrestlemania. When people left and they're like, I don't know what to do. Right, get back on with the rest of the show, and then you bring them back in. And
if we ever wanted to really torture ourselves, we should watch that Wrestlemania about the COVID Wrestlemania and show Aiden what it was like.
We've got to watch it and live stream it or something.
Oh god, it makes my heart sink thinking about it. It was great at the time, to be fair. Just having that bit of respite during COVID, but yeah, thinking.
I think it's the only Mania though I've actually sort of fell asleep with, because for some reason I decided to lay down. I turned the lights off. I was watching on TV, and I couldn't tell if my headset had just turned off or if you had fallen asleep.
Oh, I was awake
for a section of.
I remember going to you, David, are you awake? You being half asleep and hearing that in your ear.
Watching wrestling in the middle of the night is always difficult.
Yeah.
But when you sat by yourself, it definitely was a low point of wrestling. But
weird times.
Yeah. Should be a great match.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to this one. So a match that
does lead though into the Randy Orton thing.
Yeah,
because Randy Orton and Solo Sikoa are still fighting now because they never actually showed them end. Because they went off. They could be fighting. They're fine. They're still SmackDown
into Mania.
They're just gonna keep fighting.
3-week fight.
I think that
people are doing their speeches to the Hall of Fame ceremony. They're just in the background laying into each other.
Oh, they're awesome. But yeah, Randy Orton. So he was obviously going to face Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is injured. We think that's legit. I'm pretty sure it's legit.
Yeah,
99%.
With the amount of shows, external things that he's been on and officially confirmed this is happening.
There's no work back if it's not. It's not like they left it open for him to not be.
It would just make no sense. Right?
They've now said that there's a very good chance that he'll miss next year's WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think it's 12 to 16 months.
Yeah, and he hasn't. Even though there was rumours that he'd have the surgery, Spoiler hasn't had the surgery.
Yeah. So that leads us into who is Randy Orton going to face.
Oldest?
Well,
that's what people wanted.
Before this week's SmackDown, the penultimate SmackDown before Mania, I thought it was going to be Aldous. But then Randy Orton mentioned, maybe you'll get out of your suit and fight me. In my mind, that's not going to happen then. He's kind of laughed that off in a way.
I think it's going to be sort of set up as they did the Cody return.
It's going to be so underwhelming though, the people that have been rumoured, unless it's someone you just don't even know.
But
I don't think it's going to be Solo.
I think
I can see
It's a simple way to do it.
I can see a really funny, could be potentially bad for Solo,
Ted DiBiase Jr.
but I can see a really funny way of getting to it. So you have Randy Orton come out and it's like, right, I'm having my match. Nick Aldis, who you
It's
think?
like a mystery opponent, basically.
Aldis comes out and it's like, he calls it to be Solo, comes out, just RKOs him straight away. He's like, well, yeah, who's the next one?
Tamatonga. Yeah.
RKOs him. It'll be hard from both of them, sort of thing, but takes them both out and it's like,
Fatu comes out, RKO's and pins him.
oh, you agree on a opponent, and then Nick Aldis is like, well, fine, I'm gonna have to do it myself, and they don't have to have a 10-minute.
And he just takes off his suit and he's randomly
Where's his
Speedo's on it.
Why not?
Takes his tie off.
Yeah.
Just takes the tie from the blazer off.
Yeah,
Comes running down.
have a 5-minute.
I personally really want it to be Nick Aldis.
It'll be like an exhibition.
Nick Aldis started as a gladiator when Sky started. When you remember when Sky did gladiators, like I don't know, 15 years ago, whatever. He started there then, went to TNA. I loved him in TNA. Magnus. And then he had his whole NWA role, and he never got his chance in WWE. I'd love for him to have it.
Yeah,
He's fucking massive as well.
I'm gonna be.
Seeing that suit, it's like
I'm gonna be disappointed though if Randy Orton doesn't punt anybody.
They built it up now.
Like, they built it up for the Kevin Owens.
But he has to have, it's come across that he has to have genuine hate
Yeah,
to be able to punt the person.
we're still mentioning that he's hearing those voices.
maybe you could punt Solo. That's how he ends.
To be fair, with the way Solo was
Solo good to get in the ring
with Cody, and the fact that Randy is one of Cody's best friends, the hate is there. Maybe punt the Rock.
If they do this mystery opponent, Randy Orton's in the ring, who do we think's going to walk out there?
Brock Lesnar.
If it's not Solo, Brock Lesnar, okay?
Any of the rumoured returns don't really.
It doesn't make sense. It would be underwhelming if Aleister Black or Rusev walked out. I'd just feel like
Alexa Bliss.
they have had a rivalry before.
Yeah.
Alexa's pinned him before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, to be fair.
Was that the box-like structure?
No, that was... It was before that.
Pinned him on top, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that one?
Yeah, exactly.
And then she levitated.
When she was nonce bait back in the day.
But he was in that feud when they ended up doing the box-like structure.
it was in that feud.
Yeah.
And Randy Orton ended up beating The Fiend in the box-like structure match. And we were both like, what the hell?
I feel like Randy needs a win.
He does.
He's gone on. He's had a tough.
He's also
I think...
He's had such a legendary career though. He does.
Yeah, but I've missed most of that legendary career. I want to see him win.
I agree.
I've barely seen an RKO since I've come back.
I personally think, right...
Well, if my prediction comes through, you're going to see at least 3.
I have a feeling he's going to win the world title at some point this year.
World Heavyweight or WWE?
WWE.
Well,
And you
did say he wants
You can
to
have
go
a story with either one that wins. It could be John Cena's final match.
I think he will have a match for the title.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if he's
But anyway,
him versus Cena final match would be great.
yeah, to cement him as a babyface, one of the top babyfaces in the company, not country, but country as well. I think lights go down, and then Hulk Hogan comes out, and he punts Hulk Hogan, and then everyone loves that.
Is it Hogan that suggested he's got another match in him?
Yeah, well, there you go.
Flair has.
Look,
Flair definitely does.
just imagine how angry everyone would be that Hulk Hogan comes out, and then Randy ends up RKOing him and punting him. We never see him again.
I still don't want to see it though.
No, I don't. But then he's the top babyface. He goes against heel Cena.
Nick Aldis is the
I'd like to see Nick
best
Aldis.
option.
I think the dog would too.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the big match then.
Yes.
Cody Rhodes against what?
We didn't actually speak about Liv and Raquel.
Oh, we haven't, have we? No. Yeah, I don't know who wins that one. It's Bailey and
Well, Valkyrie would hold the title. She holds the Women's Intercontinental, so she'll hold the tag title.
Yeah.
It feels to me like it's bodged because they want Bailey on the show.
I think Bailey kind of deserves
Bailey
that.
and
No, from what I've seen of Bailey, she definitely does not deserve it.
She's one of the 4 horsewomen.
I don't care.
That match she had against Lyra on Raw this week was really good, and that's what she used to be like all the time.
I hope she just goes back to NXT.
She is also a fan favourite character in this, not at the same level at the minute, but in the same vein as a Jey Uso. Like, the fans...
I like the fact that when her music goes off, I think I'm about to watch X-Men, but outside of that, I'm not a massive fan.
I miss her old music when she was a hugger.
Yeah.
That was better music.
Is that
I hate-
when Roxanne Perez dressed up?
Yeah.
Instead of Pit?
Yeah.
That heel turn, though, where she cut down all the... What,
Yeah, that was
the
the Bailey buddies, yeah. Yeah,
Great.
that was good. Yeah, I don't know who wins that, though. I think Liv and Raquel,
Yeah,
personally.
I think it makes more sense
Yeah.
for the stories that are going on.
And then do you have Bailey turn heel eventually?
But then that, if she turns heel, will that end up ending the feud of Roxanne? 'Cause Roxanne's technically a heel, I guess.
Yeah, she is. Are they even in a feud?
it's awesome.
Is Roxanne on?
It's implied.
Or is she on main roster now? Nobody knows.
It's like the Matt Riddle, Brock Lesnar, except it's not a real life one. It's just like people keep talking like, oh, this match is going to happen.
Yeah.
And then it's just not, they're not built to it.
Yeah. Personally, I think Liv's been like one of the... Over the last year, I actually... Again, I Liv Morgan critic. I think she's been brilliant over this last year. I think she should be in the world title picture, but yeah, I'd like to see her win personally.
Everything I've
Built in
seen
a way.
says that she's probably the most improved woman over the last
I think she's been the MVP of the company over the last year, personally.
certain aspects of her.
Arguably, yeah.
Liv Bron James,
carried the-
if you were. Liv Bron James. That's nearly as bad as Orse him.
Horse him.
We are awesome.
Yeah.
It would only make sense if Kamala Hayes actually cut the Miz off saying awesome.
I don't think he wants to.
Yeah,
because he sees how cringy it is.
Yeah.
He's like, no, please.
Miz doing it by himself, it makes it stupid.
Yeah.
It makes it more stupid. It would already be stupid, but
That's a double Grand Slam champion
yeah.
for Liz. Bloody hell. Let's talk about this main event then. Cody against John Cena. Straight singles match? Wherever the clean winner? Or is there shenanigans?
Depends if the Rock's involved, I think.
Who
Well, that's
really
the-
knows?
That's the big cloud looming over it, isn't it? The Rock. He's not really been mentioned since the turn.
He got brought up. They
Yeah, but it was
handled-
kind of brought up.
Yeah,
but
they
it wasn't.
handled the weekly stuff really weird with it.
I think a lot depends what happens on this SmackDown before Mania, which obviously will happen after we're recording. I can't see The Rock turning up.
The problem I had is I get why they did it. They went with the whole, we're going to keep Cena exactly the same, except now instead of saying nice things about the crowd, he's going to say horrible things.
Yeah,
And a very legitimate reason why they
because
did
they
that.
made all the merch and they
Well,
did
yeah, but
heel
they-
turn last minute.
No, because the merch didn't really fit anyway. But
Bit of dick.
but then they did 2 weeks of Cena not addressing Cody.
Mm-hmm.
We got 1 week where they did, and it was really good. Was there then a second week where they had an actual back and forth sort of thing, and then he's missed another one. He's going to appear next week,
Mm-hmm.
but the build is literally just on this is seen as first match as a heel.
Yeah,
That is the build. The story between the two of them is not much.
yeah,
If you compare it to the amount of story that's gone into the night one main event, right? There's a lot of layers to that story, and then built on the relationships between the 3 different wrestlers and all things like that, and they've had how much they hate each other. I don't get the same thing from the Cena Cody match.
yeah. I do think it's been a bit of a weird build. I don't really know what to add. That's what you say, because I kind of agree with you. That 1 week though is what I sort of go towards, and
Yeah.
that was good.
It doesn't help I think that Cena has said that he's going to take the title and leave with it, so there's never a legitimate champion again, because that sort of makes it hard for them to book him to win.
He didn't say that though, did he?
He's also contracted for more matches.
Yeah,
well,
I think he meant that he's going to retire with it, rather than just leave after WrestleMania. So he's obviously going to have matches after. But
I want to see Cena win. I think would be the right call.
Yeah, I do. But there's so many ways you could go from it though.
Yeah.
I think eventually you go back to Cena being a face again before he retires. I can't see him retiring as a bad guy.
No.
Surely not. So you find a way to get him back to that.
But then you need enough time, don't you, to build on the fact that he's returned to a face, and depending on how many more appearances he has after Mania, does he even have enough? Do they have enough time to build him back to being a face?
Yeah. There's been one fan theory that I've seen doing the rounds quite a lot, which I don't know if it's true or not. But Cena turned heel to protect Cody, like so that Cody didn't have to accept The Rock's offer.
Yeah.
It was like what
So he accepted it, so the other party didn't have to accept it.
Pretty much.
Took the bullet for him.
Pretty much.
After Cody'd already turned it down.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it would work exactly, but yeah, there's loads of different theories going around. There's loads of ways.
Oh yeah, I've seen people talk about it being the start of the path to heel Cody as well.
I would like heel Cody. I think heel Cody's really good. Like, we've obviously never seen it in this run for WWE, but he is really good.
But then you need a huge baby face for him to go in.
Randy.
Yeah, after he's punted Hulk Hogan.
Randy said he's going to go when he goes to him. He's gonna tell him to his face.
Yeah.
Randy wants the title.
Jey Uso.
Randy doesn't have a ton of time until how long has Randy got left in him?
Oh yeah,
really.
I think he got some decent baby faces there.
If you think WrestleMania main event baby faces,
well, Jey Uso wasn't a WrestleMania. Well,
no,
he's still not technically. But yeah, you could build them quite easy. Like the one that comes to my mind is you could so easily make Bron Breakker a main eventer and a baby face, like really easy. But
yeah, you could have next year heel Cody versus Bron Breakker. That would. But yeah, I think they're more limited on
face.
Yeah,
they tried to tease world champion Otis before. He was a Money in the Bank winner.
He did win Money in the Bank.
Otis
didn't get to cash in.
No. Can we all agree that Cena's going to win here?
I think he will. I think there's enough time after for the belt to still switch hands, even if it doesn't switch straight back to Cody and it goes to somebody.
There's two reasons.
Yeah, I think.
One, it stops another long title reign.
Yeah.
And Cody would have held it for a whole year. But also, Cena can't have a year-long title reign because he's going in 8 months.
That's like the best case scenario.
I've mentioned it on, and my thoughts haven't changed on it. That we've got to the point in WWE when it feels like titles will only change hands at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
which makes other pay-per-views feel slightly less interesting. In the moment when you're watching the pay-per-view, we're not thinking about that.
Yeah.
It's 8 o'clock in the morning, slightly sleep deprived. I'm not thinking, oh, this isn't going to happen. But in the build-up to it, it's like, well, why should I care about this match? Because Cody has to win because he can only lose at WrestleMania.
Is part of that, though, them protecting... Because obviously one of the big things with John Cena is it is his 17th title or it'll be his 18th.
That's 17.
So that'll be 17. Now, if people start winning a title and then losing it 2 months later and then in a pay-per-view, you could have the same person hold the title technically 3 different times in a year.
That's how John Cena got to this.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Is that where they're concerned, though, that people are going to comfortably overtaking other people on how many titles they've held?
Yeah, now we're like, what is it, 5 years in?
It's more fun.
Triple H's run, 3 years, something like that. I never used to agree with you. I used to think long title runs, they like put a prestige on the title belt, make it feel
I
special.
think it's more than Vince do.
Yeah, I think there's an in between now, because it just seems like every single title run that they have now is like a year.
Yeah,
And it's mad.
And there's not enough title defences either.
No, there's not.
Well, televised at least. Maybe in house shows where you know who's going to be winning.
Yeah.
but then you sort of start to get that same thing of there have been title changes on Raw and SmackDown and title changes on smaller pay-per-views, but none of the big titles.
No.
It's funny though, I don't want my favourite wrestlers to win the title because I just won't get to see them wrestle. Like that's the funny thing with it. I don't want them to win.
Yeah.
How many times has Cody actually wrestled in the last year? For what we've
Most
seen,
of the pay-per-views.
yeah, but outside of Opie's, because obviously there's a lot of matches in a year. You don't.
We'll be able to look it up. I'm not gonna.
But to be fair to Tiffany Stratton, she's wrestled not a lot of times, but she's wrestled several times, and
She one
they
of your
don't
favourite wrestlers.
What, Tiffany?
Yeah.
Yeah, for lots of risks.
He used to be massive Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah, in NXT she was great. Even up to when she got the title, she's been great. But I think this whole Charlotte build hasn't been good, and it's damaged it quite a bit.
I think the thing that's made it difficult for me is because since I started watching it, I decided to throw myself massively into it, and I watch NXT and Evolve and everything. NXT at the minute is very good. Like the wrestling on it is very good. I'm not a massive fan of a couple of the wrestlers on it, but outside of that, I know Sammy, you watch it. I think the level of wrestling, you can tell where the next generation's going, and it's in very good.
I think that's always been the case.
I'm sure.
NXT moved away from being the.
We would have loved NXT when it was in its peak in like 2015 to maybe 17.
I imagine people like Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor,
Shinsuke Nakamura
wrestling in an NXT style.
Yeah,
it's a shame as well because with NXT you seem to see more wrestling for the small amount of time, which means it
always been the way.
Yeah, it's I've really enjoyed it.
They started it with that, and then definitely at the time have booked it as the counter programming to AEW, which tends to lean more on that style.
It was meant to be like their indie promotion though, wasn't it? It was meant to be that sort of style, so that's why it was more wrestling based. Yeah, NXT's been good. I think you're gonna that Raw after Mania, you're gonna have some call ups.
Yeah.
But maybe Obafemi.
I don't like Obafemi. I like Trick Williams.
I like Trick Williams. Javon's good.
Javon's brilliant.
Who's
Javon's
being
very
called down though? Because there's only we have this problem every year. I think I mentioned
Carmelo Hayes
to one of the
straight back. There's no point. He's not being used. He might as well.
It's a shame. Yeah.
We're in a moment now when people are wanting certain NXT wrestlers to get called up.
I've been reading about that.
But that doesn't make more space on the main roster.
And where do they fit?
So either some people from the main roster have to go to NXT, or there'll be some releases.
Oh, that's what happens.
I could see some Trick Williams coming up and then being put into kind of like even if it was the Intercontinental fold, and then Fraxium coming up to try and balance out the tag relationship on Raw, because Fraxium competing for the Raw tag, like they're a brilliant tag team to watch.
You're going to go through the cycle of WWE to call up this person. Why are they not calling them up? They're a terrible company, and then they'll call them up. And like, why are they not using this person if they're
we saw
not going to have them on TV? They're a terrible company, and then they'll release some people to make some fun. But why are they releasing people? WWE are terrible. You can't have all three.
Yeah.
There's only so much TV time.
They mentioned it earlier, didn't they, on SmackDown, when they did the women's tag and they revolved through. I think it was Shayna Baszler and somebody else, and the commentary said that this is like the second time she's wrestled in a year. Like, she hasn't been injured. There's no space for her.
Yeah, the show on Wrestlemania weekend, it's not WWE, but
Bloodsport.
And it might be Bloodsport. They've got loads of WWE people.
They usually do
on it.
That's like a realistic themed wrestling thing. So it's a ring, but it's got no ropes on it, and it's like MMA rules.
So it's like Bloodsport, like the Jean-Claude Van Damme film Bloodsport. That's very similar, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ring.
Kind of.
No, it's like a ring with no ropes.
Or underground.
Yeah, pretty much, but like good. But yeah, they've had Baszler on there before, so it's like MMA theme, but it's predetermined.
Yeah, she looks like somebody who would be like that.
She used to be
like, yeah, she looks like somebody that lost a line.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know what a wrestler it was.
Wow. I was going to say that's a backhanded compliment. It's just not even a compliment. Is it? Poor girl. Anyway, Yeah, so we got off on a bit of a tangent there from WrestleMania, didn't we? But
You haven't jumped in on every... Like, you definitely now watch more wrestling than I do.
yeah. Well, you watch Evolve, so you watch more than me. So I watch NXT, SmackDown, and Raw.
Evolve's good.
Don't watch AEW.
Well, it's alright. Evolve's alright. They're a bit trial.
Did AEW fall off?
I want to
Be out of podcast. I didn't throw a little dig at AEW at the end for no reason.
No, the thing is with it, the last AEW show I watched was when we went live to see it at Wembley.
But I've watched more since.
But yeah, so you watched more. I think the issue I've got now is it's just so easy to watch WWE on Netflix. Like, it's on an app that I've already got.
Yeah.
I would have to go
Watch
through
whenever you
other
want.
means to watch AEW.
You don't have access to ITV4.
Yeah, but you have to watch it on like a Friday night. It's already been on, you've already seen all the spoilers, and you're like, I'm not really bothered. Or you watch it on other sites.
That's why I know when to watch it, because I've seen all the spoilers and like, this is a really good match, so I'll check it out.
But then I'm hearing things that aren't necessarily very good, and can I really be asked to spend 2 hours of my life watching something that I know is not very good? Like, man, so
Yeah.
no,
The Spike
that was grim.
thing was pretty off-putting. I've never been a huge fan of the deathmatch concept in wrestling, so it was definitely not for me. But yeah, it's its own style, and for those that love it, it's probably great. But it doesn't draw me in, which has always been a problem I've had with it. But yeah.
I think it's alright if you do it right. It's hard to know when you see a clip of John Moxley with a spiked bat in his back. That's just out of context, where you don't know what wrestling.
When I watched WWE, I started watching for that brief period I did during the Attitude Era. So everything they'd do anything as long as it got a reaction. It didn't matter if it was a bad thing or a good thing.
At the time, I'd look forward to the So I used to watch SmackDown and Raw as like the repeats on Sky, and whenever they did like a chair shot, it would freeze frame.
Yeah,
You'd never actually get to see
to the crowd.
Yeah.
It's a little bit movies, isn't it? When somebody gets stabbed in the front, they pan to the back.
Yeah.
So you don't see it happen.
And then when I'd watch a pay-per-view or get to watch a live and seeing those, would be like, oh yeah, actually getting to see these things. And then, as you said at the beginning, you notice things differently when you watch it as an adult than you're watching it as a kid. And knowing all what we know about injuries and the risks, I don't enjoy watching the chair shots to the head.
Yeah.
Well, talking about bad chair shots, what do you think of Nia Jax not being in WrestleMania at all?
Is that a link to chair shots on again?
She had an awful match where it looked like she was trying to hit somebody. It looked atrocious.
Which one was that?
Is there an injury?
Well, no, because I saw some content on YouTube the other day, and somebody had tweeted at her about something, and she basically responded saying, like, I'm not injured. Like, if you don't know, don't
say
talk
something
about
I really
it.
thought about, to be honest. I thought she's been alright though this year, to be fair to her.
It's one of those interesting things.
She's improved. Like, you should have seen what she was like.
She hasn't been anywhere for the last, like, 2-3 months. She's just vanished.
When someone vanishes in WWE now, it's either a question of are they injured or they just not got anything to do.
She got a lawsuit against her. Well, she's gonna turn up on AEW. Well, going back to the AEW thing though, like, one of the big reasons I watched it was Cody originally, and then Cody's now on WWE, and now where it was WWE stars going to AEW, it's kind of flipped where AEW stars are going over to WWE, and the more AEW ones going over to WWE, I'm like, yeah, if MJF ever went over to WWE, I'd just be like, done. WWE it is. I'm a Fed guy now. I'm Dr. Fed.
Dr. Fed.
That's it. I'm in with the Fed. So, look, we've been rambling a bit after that, but I think it's fair to say we're all really looking forward to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be good. The hype's not necessarily as big as last year's WrestleMania, but some of the matches on there have real big potential to be.
Yeah. And
awesome.
As a famous podcast host once said, if the matches are good, the show will be good.
Yeah, and it's never a true saying, to be fair.
Yeah.
So, I think we should leave it on that.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening.
Are we coming back? Are we going to do any more of these?
I think we're coming back, and we could come back as a trio.
Should we see what happens? We've got to go through the editing and release process that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if I have planned this out right, this will be out on Good Friday.
Yeah.
So WrestleMania will not have happened when listening to this.
Well, yeah, let's hope so, because otherwise we've just wasted an hour of our lives talking about WrestleMania for us to release it after WrestleMania, predicting what will happen at WrestleMania. Then WrestleMania's happened and everything that we predicted was wrong, and no one wants to listen to it. So
We might. We'll
Yeah.
see what we got wrong.
I do want to say the only reason we've not been around for the last year is because Damien's started going to the gym and he's now got ripped and he's got 24-inch biceps and his penis can deadlift 100 kilograms. So
Only one of those things you said is true.
24-inch biceps.
Not that he's got biceps.
Yeah, it's the penis. He's just got an inch penis. Anyway, but look, we'll be back in some way, shape or form. It might be a duo, it might be a trio. Who knows?
Might be a quadruplet.
Who's the quad?
Don't know.
Find out where we start.
What a cliffhanger that is. Anyway, thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening. If you'd like to keep up to date with all things Figure Fourcast, you can follow us on Twitter or X at Figure4UK, on Threads and Instagram at The Figure Fourcast, and on Facebook by searching The Figure Fourcast.